Right then, Creality came back to me. For anyone unfamiliar with my Creality drama, please check out my video on the Hallett Mage S for details, because just before that, Creality stopped talking to me. But thanks to Once in a Six Side, who put me in touch with his contact, I'm now in direct communication with them again. Yay? But whatever that means, it does mean I get more printers to give you my opinions on, and as usual, I'm not going to hold my punches. But here, at least in my experience, there aren't many to dish out. I actually enjoyed my time with the Ender 3 V3 Plus, but does that mean it's worth your consideration? Well, watch on. Hi, I'm Ross, and this is Farhammer Videos. The Ender 3 is a bit of a historic name in the 3D printing game. It certainly made Creality a bigger name back when the original Ender 3 came out, as it was one of the most affordable, workable machines of its time. But workable is a loose term in reflection. Through necessity, it spawned a generation of 3D printing tinkerers, something I am not. I'm specifically after a machine that just works, and somewhere in there I'll balance affordability with features. This machine, for its size, is certainly in the more affordable column. And for anyone interested in the current naming, well, at least Creality have kept it kinda simple, sort of, maybe. You also have the Ender 3 V3 KE and SE, which share very little in common with the Ender 3 V3 or this one, the Ender 3 V3 Plus. So they're already confusing us. This, as I said, is the Ender 3, but the third generation of the Ender 3, which makes it the V3. Plus just means it's bigger than the standard one, but I'll come on to size in a moment. I prefer to talk about what it would be like to practically use your printer than delve into specs you can read on a website. So, unboxing is straightforward, and whilst assembly is the same, in modern times, it's not the easiest. Don't get me wrong, it's not hard, but the written guides leave much to be desired. Essentially though, it's a case of attach the upper gantry to the base and plug in a load of cables, attach the screen, and you're good to go. I am quite happy, no, hang on, that's the wrong word. I guess I'm relieved to see some consistency between Creality printers nowadays. And by that, I was going to say things like how it uses the same design for hot end units and build plates. At least with this approach, it makes Creality more of an investment of a machine with cross-compatible parts across their whole range. But it's as I write the script and I'm comparing the hot end from this one to the one that looks similar on the K1 printers, I can see that other than a few visual design elements, they're actually different in a couple of ways, though the main components like nozzle and extruder gear appear to be the same, which is good, but they're only the same on the K1C and the newer K1 SE, not on the original K. So again, it's confusing. What is the same is that once you boot the machine up, you're generated with the same UI as on the whole K1 series, which is fine, it works, it has good options in sensible places, and you have enough controls here. But overall, the machine has a look which, well, it's kinda cheap, but the printer is cheap, so I guess this is acceptable. Now, one thing worth noting is that these printers are referred to as Core XZ machines, and that's not just to confuse people who think they want a Core XY printer and think this is the same. It basically means that everything in the X and Z movements are belt driven, and I'm told in theory this means less weight in the hot end and everything is more stable. Okay. Now back to its capabilities. This, as I said, is the plus version of the Ender 3 V3, but not the Ender 3 V3 KE or SE. But this has a build area of 300mm cubed, so it's quite large. The smaller version of this same printer, the Ender 3 V3, has a smaller build area of 220 squared and a height of 250. Now, since some other popular brands still haven't given us their larger machines, 300mm is the minimum I'm personally looking for when it comes to printer size. This definitely ticked a large box for me, but some features do just seem a tad outdated now. Having the runout sensor external to the hot end and near the filament reel means that when you run out, you have the whole PTFE tube's length of filament wasted unless you manually watch it to the last inch and swap it out then. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's something that many other printers nowadays have minimized by putting the runout sensor in the hot end itself. And speaking of, Creality can say they have a quick swap nozzle, but only with blatant ignorance of what other brands are calling quick swap nozzles. Yes, you can just unscrew one and screw another one in, but other brands have easily removable faceplates on the hot end, and the hot end itself, or the hot end nozzle, can be swapped out with little more than a clamp. That's quick swap. In this case, the nozzles are the same as what you'll see on Creality's flagship K1 series, not the original K1, just the K1 Max and the K1C and the K1 SE. Again, madness. And these are available in 0.4, 0.6 and 0.8 varieties, and 0.4, as is now typical, comes with the machine. The out-of-box experience is clean and tidy and straightforward, and I'm happy to finally see that the Creality Cloud Phone app has had a necessary cleanup and features much less FOMO, and a more intuitive interface. There's still work to do, but this is a far cry from the app I lambasted last year with the K1 printers and everything that came before it. This is improvement, and I like to see improvement. And I wanted to talk about the software that comes with it, in this case Creality Print, which was a more limited version of Cura Slicer, as it has been for ages. But whilst I was reviewing this, I was also reviewing the K1 SE at the same time, and whilst I was reviewing that, I had the more recent Creality Print 4.8, which is now based on not just Prusa Slicer, but Orca Slicer. The TLDR is that Cura was falling well behind in the slicer race, and whilst it was workable for me in this review with its features and functions, I'd have told you to ignore it and download Orca Slicer anyway. And if you want my thoughts on this new version of Creality Slicer, which is based on Orca, please watch my upcoming video on the K1 SE, but in the meantime, skip it, just download Orca Slicer and use that. Printing wise, well, I'd love to talk about amazing speeds, but the speeds were okay. Decent enough for a modern bed slinger, but the quoted 600mm a second printing speed is certainly possible, but I'd read that knowing there will be a reduction in print quality. I'm yet to see a printer show high quality prints above 250 to 300mm a second, and I think the limitation there is just material physics. It doesn't seem to matter how many fans you chuck at this, ultra fast printing reduces print quality, which I guess is why in all of the available profiles for this machine, 300mm a second is the maximum default setting, even with Creality's own Hyper PLA. One thing I do like that is a Creality standard now is compatibility with the Nebula camera. This is a great little webcam with a manual focus ring and built-in night vision. There's no special setup you need here, just plug it in and enable time-lapse photography in the UI. However, this still only takes one shot per layer, no matter where the hot end is at the time, unlike other brands who have the option to show a smooth time-lapse by returning the hot end to the home position for each layer. Again, a minor thing, but something that makes video output sexier with other brands. For a bed slinging printer, and especially one of this size, I've had no issue printing large parts on the machine, and I actually used this to complete the large mega minifig model by the Kit Kiln. And if you don't know the Kit Kiln, they were actually previously known as Big Bricks, but they've had to rebrand and change their name recently, along with, unfortunately, removing all of these minifig models from their online store, Thangs 3D. But the Kit Kiln is still a fantastic model creator and has continued with a variety of non-Lego based kits like this awesome Wall-E I printed. All of their models are completely push fit and don't require a multi-material unit to print a model in a variety of colours. Each coloured part is printed separately and you just push them together. And bear in mind, this is not a sponsored ad, I paid for these models, I just think they're cool and wanted to shout out the very talented creator. I'll even drop a link to them below this video. But enough about models, what about the printer? Does this one get a thumbs up from me? Well, I'd say it's middling. I'd honestly say this printer is okay. I'd personally pick a K1 Max over it. It's the same print volume, but a couple more features like the included camera and LiDAR scanner. But it's its core stability I like, and personally, I just prefer the style of a machine that's more enclosed. But on the flip side, that one is a lot more expensive. If you're after a larger machine, then pickings are generally slim, and whilst Creality don't have the best track record in terms of build quality, customer service, or user experience, between this and the last FDM printer of theirs I used, I can clearly see them making steps to modernize in many ways. If you're after a printer of this size on a budget, you'll get what you pay for here. I want to say thanks for watching, and thanks to our members who are on screen now. Please consider joining them to get benefits like early access, exclusive videos, and unique Discord roles for your member level. Thanks again for stopping by, and please hit like and subscribe. If you do pick up one of these or any printer I review, I'd massively appreciate you clicking my affiliate link in the description before you do. Until next time, this is my boomstick. Fohammer out.